Thanks for stopping by, guys. It's Al here, playing some more Scrap Mechanic. Due to the fact that my internet has been giving me some problems, I have not been able to get the game I wanted to do for this third series set up. So I thought I'd cover some Scrap Mechanic in the meantime. What you see before you is a slight obsession I've had over the last week or so. I've been building a lot of tanks and tank-like creations. These aren't lined up in any specific order or anything in front of me, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these because especially the one on the left, the far black one over there, is extremely laggy, as you can probably see in my camera movement. So I'm going to clear these out, and I'm probably going to just start from the right and move all the way down and go through them and talk about them. So I'm going to do that right now, and I will be right back. Alright, and I'm back. I'm going to start with this one. Even though it isn't really a tank, it looks a lot more like a car, which is what it was for. The actual movement in it is my standard tank movement I use. So left and right do this to the wheels, and forward just rolls all of them, and this is done by using 2 bearings. And because there was so little wheels, only 4 of them, I could use 3 engines. Because an engine can only hold 5 wheels, which is odd. You'd think it would hold either 4 or 6 because you think it even anyway. Not really sure why they're 5, but okay. So because of that, I was able to make it this small. This little red car was used in the last episode. I was talking about a race that I did before that I didn't record. This is actually the car I built and put into the race, and it turned out quite well, and it worked well on the small track, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So there isn't much to it, and I want to get to the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the next one out. Alright, and here's the next one. I know I said I'm not really doing them in any particular order. I'm just trying to get through them all. This one, even though it isn't much of a tank as well, it still uses the same exact steering and everything that I did before. When I got done with this, I really liked the look of it, but it didn't look like a tank to me, so I went more with a construction-esque vehicle. This one uses the windows I used in actually my first tank, which we will get to here in a second. And I really like the way it looks in first person. It's one of the bigger ones that I made. Pressing 1 just opens the hatch so you can get in and out, and 2 is your lights and tail lights. And overall, I am really happy with how this one turned out. It's a bit top heavy, but I do like the way that the wheels react, especially on the cornfields and stuff that are in the map over there, where it's really bumpy. It's cool to watch these wheels work over those bumps because it does it flawlessly, and it's really nice and really pleasant to watch the wheels go over them. So on to the next one. Alright, and this one I refer to as the Dark Scout. I think it's actually the last one I ended up building. My goal here was pretty much to get as small as, or pretty much as small as I could go. I did give a little bit of liberty width-wise. I did make it a little bit wider than it needed to be, but this is pretty much as short as I can get a tank. And as you can see, my head is even poking out of the top. One just opens and closes the hatch, and I'm really not happy with how this first person looks, just because there's these 2 big blind spots right here and right here. Everything is literally just crammed in here as good as I can get it, and the hatch can't even open completely. So it's a fast little creation. It looks okay. It fulfilled its purpose of being small, but overall I'm really not happy with this one. It's kind of doesn't really have much character other than small dark craft. Actually, I want to show you, everything is just crammed in this back compartment, and because of the size of engines and how many wheels this has, it's a bit of a pain. So on to the next one. Alright, and here we have the little brother and the big brother. I'm doing these together because technically they are the same vehicle. I was actually making this to be, once again, a really small craft, but I kind of overdid it on the tires. And then once I overdid it on the tires, I kind of said, well, I'm not going to make it small anymore. And I made that version, which is a lot bigger, in my opinion. It looks a lot nicer compared to this one. But overall, they're really the same craft. One is the hatch, two is the lights. And they're actually quite top heavy, I've noticed. See? Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, but I consider these much failures, pretty much. I don't have any intent to use them. So I'm going to get rid of this one, and I'll grab the big brother and drive it real quick. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm trying to fly through these, but I have a lot of them. And these are just ones I've done in the last couple days. I think I did most of these in a time span of a day or two. So here's the big brother. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this one's just as top heavy. So there we go. Yep, hit a rock. Not that this one isn't as bad as the little brother, it seems. And does do a nosedive when you stop though. So I'm going to get rid of this one and go ahead and move on to the next. Alright, and I'm starting out of this creation simply because it's a bit of a process to get in it, other than the other ones which are just hatches on top. Normally you just hop on this, but for some reason it's not working. It should be dangling down here, but I can't really get on this. Maybe I could if I got a lucky jump, but I'm just going to climb the tires because it is a bit easier to do it this way. And then just climb up here, move over to this hatch and open it. This is actually the first tank I did. I did do a few updates on it since the original creation of it. And this is actually a recommendation by the Lucky Mars Bar, which you might remember from the last episode as being one of the guys I was playing with. He suggested that I go back to this and repaint it and kind of give it a new look and a new birth because it was my first creation and it kind of needed it because I really left it unfinished when I did it in the first episode. So I thought I'd come back to it, and this is actually where I started using this front facing like lookout, and I kind of have this slight obsession with it. As you can see, it's in most of the tanks I've built here. So yeah, I really like it. If I go with the controls, 1 opens this so you can get out, 2 is lights, 3 is a little siren, or you might not be able to hear it, but it's beeping at me. 4 has a bit of a horn, really quiet. Sorry, I had to make it really quiet because how I used to record, I still haven't fixed that. And 5 is just this little hatch over here. So I just wanted to give a kind of throwback to an older creation that I did, and just repaint it and give it a new life. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Alright, and here we are to the next one. This one I guess is very similar to the Dark Scout or the Black Scout. I forget which one I called it. It is pretty much almost an identical copy for the most part. One of the biggest differences is instead of using signs on top to make the top thinner, I did add this still on it. It still uses a similar wheelbase, and how the engines are set up are the same. And this, I really like this one because it has a very far angle of view in this one. And this one is, I think, one of the fastest ones I've made. It might be beat that I can't speak. It might be beat by the orange one, the orange construction S craft I built. But actually, I think this is one of my favorite ones so far of all the ones I've built. A note to make is the Black Scout, which this one's called the Hyper Scout, I think. It's really, really fast. This one is thinner from like wheel to wheel. It might be longer, but this one is a bit taller than the Black Scout. But I love how fast it is. I love how responsive like the turning and stuff is. And I really love this first person. So I think it's about time I get to the one everyone is waiting for. And here she is. Once again, I'm going to start outside of this one because it is a bit of a hassle to get into. This is the, if I can pull it up, I kind of forget what I called it. The ALMA Tank Destroyer. Like I said, I have a bit of an obsession with tanks, and I was watching a lot of War Thunder and stuff on YouTube, and I kind of was like, I want to build one. So there isn't a specific tank this is modeled after, but I kind of just went with it. There is an earlier version of this, which I will actually grab out. I have to get rid of this one because this one is absolutely horrific on the frame rate. And here it is. So this is the original shell. It's a lot less laggy, but something I found out is when working with turrets, this is a full 360 turret, whereas the other one just has a moving mantelet. Something I found out is there is a definite weight limit to how much a bearing can hold on top of it. So say I do it like this, there's only so much weight I can put on here before the bearing starts to not like me. And that's actually why I had to use these skull and crosses, because if I add any more metal, the weight starts to get over what it can handle. So I'm not actually going to show off the driving in this one because it's really insignificant, but I am going to show off the gun in it because it is the main difference between this one and the other one. This one, left and right, turns the turret, up and down, raises and lowers the barrel. And this does have a full 360 system setup on it, but it is really slow, as you know. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other one back up. Actually, I should explain how this works a bit. This gunner seat is hooked up to three bearings, two of which are on a A&D converter, which is this thing back here, the screen and those two sensors. If you don't know how to make a A&D inverter, or converter, sorry, I can't speak today. How to make an A&D converter, you basically have a stick on a turning bearing like that, and when you turn it, it will hit one of those two sensors. So if you look in there, and then I have those hooked up onto two bearings which are stacked, which will turn it, one turns it left, one turns it right. And then the third one is this one up here. And if you hook a bearing up to a seat, you have forward and backwards controls, and all of these are just on loop, by the way. So when you have forward and backwards controls, it just turns W and S into your up and down. So I just wanted to cover that gun simply because I did make a full 360 turret, but due to the weight limits I do have on bearings, I couldn't go as complex as I would like to with the whole turret. So I ended up having to go with this, which is the mantle. I'm not 100% sure why this is as laggy as it is. I think it's just because how complex the gun is. So in this one, when you get in, once again, you do still have the same first person view that you've seen in almost all of them. You see a lot of stuff back there, and one just shuts these two hatches. I want to drive it real quick so you can give an idea of how this one moves. Give an idea of how the wheels adapt to the terrain. This one's a bit more of a stiff tank. So it's a really heavy one too. But I don't think I was going for speed or maneuverability. I was just going for mainly the turn on top. or the moving gun, I should say. It's not even a full turret. So I'm going to go ahead and hop out, and it just throws me out. You can see how bad of a frame rate I'm actually getting on this. So if I run over here and open these, this front door is meant for the driver and the rear door is meant for the gunner. So I have to look in there and you can see the seat, hit E. And once again, you have the W, A, S, and D controls for the gun, which work the same way that the turret does, just on a smaller, less maneuverable scale. And one thing it did add to this that the other one could not have due to the small turret is if you press 1, you do actually, the gun does kind of retract as to simulate shooting. So I really like that. You can see on the side there's like a little cargo tray here or something to throw your bags in. These two big jugs, I don't know what they were just added detail to make it look nicer. The best way I've found to actually get out of this is you want to lower the turret all the way down, and sometimes it'll just shoot you out of the craft like that. And if you get stuck, there are seats on the sides which you can kind of just jump into if you have to. But if you have a lot of people playing, you could also use these to help move them around. This is the biggest tank I think so far that I've made. I'm trying to think. I think I might have one contester, which is that the camo scout, the one I built in my first episode. It's actually quite big. It's not very tall, but it is quite big. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I wish it was a little bit better on frames. And originally I wanted to do a bit of a collaboration with someone so I could have, or not really collaboration, I just guess multiplayer with some people, just so I could have a gunner in here while I'm running around. And I did have a bit of cinematic planned, and if I can get that to work, you'll probably see it as the intro, and if you've seen it as the intro, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but if not, hopefully I can get it set up at a future date. So there isn't much else for me to cover in this episode. I'm sorry if it felt like it was rushed. I just had a lot of tanks to get through, and I didn't want to spend much time on every single one. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end the episode here. If you liked the episode, please leave a like. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, or just have any suggestions in general, please leave them down in the comments below. If you like the channel and like what it's doing, please subscribe. It helps out a lot. And if you are already subscribed and you want to help out the channel, please share this with a few people. The more exposure I get, the more it helps out, the faster I can grow. And the faster I can grow, the better content I can make in return. So thank you all for stopping by. This has been Al, playing and having a bit of an obsession with tanks. Peace.